There's been a shift in consciousness. We're more aware of the disproportion. But philosophizing with no action won't mend the historic distortion. Addiction and consumerism don't make our name Roshan. Our scriptures bear witness to faithless contortion. We've got life givers protesting about their rights to abortion. We've got barren land and pesticides filling our earth's portion. They've got power and wealth from our people's deprivation and extortion. And this was all conducted consciously with no compassion or remorse. 1757, they knew they struck gold and halted their excursion. Cue the beginning of 200 years of violent incursion. Businessmen to beggars, justice's perversion. 30% of world trade to importing because of subversion. 30 million Indians dying from British inertia. The vulnerable and helpless targeted for conversion. 1931, a shaheed became a shaheed. It's worth our discussion. In sacrifice he committed, for us his immersion. 1947, driving the British out, or we left in their version. No straight lines in Bharat, the surgeon's incision. Separation of neighbours, the blood of brothers' submersion. 2017, history is written by its victors, so we were never taught the horrors of this version. 2017, are our people not yet due their reapportion? Will the liars and deceivers face its reversion? Will the lies and deceit face its inevitable interversion? Reparations for a nation whose partition saw the largest mass migration in human history. While 100,000 became refugees, 14 million remain a mystery. 1.5 million of us with a responsibility to recollect. 1.5 million British Indians whose homeland was under threat. 125 billion pounds our forefathers are owed in war debt. Do we really have the heart to chase Western wealth and forget? Justice starts with us. How much more needs to happen before we have enough evidence to kick up a fuss? Treachery, butchery, the alienation of our own. Our children will reap the fruits of the seeds which we've sown, unless Unilever poison all the crops which we've grown, with mercury for a murky creed. That's how Churchill would have put it. Beastly bunch with a beastly religion, that's exactly how he said it. We had atheists with unmoving faith, Shahida with twisted fate. The lucky one was his name. Bhagavad, your sacrifice won't go in vain. He said every tiny molecule of ash moved with his heat like a wave. He said he is such a lunatic that he is free even when he's in jail. He showed us clearly what it means to be brave, like the olden days when we cared for universal freedom. 116 days he fasted for equal rights in prison. Socialist views, equality was his vision. He stood with pride in court even when his death sentence was given. His mother wept just a few days after Lori. Dulce et decorum est, pro patria mori. In times of oppression, such heroes rise naturally. But what use are these wars if we don't do anything in times of peace? A great shaheed once said, no one can do justice to anybody without the motive being released. If we ignore the motive, generals and officers are judged as murderers and thieves. Law is supposed to be for man, but for man we must now bereave. Justice wasn't served to our martyrs, justice wasn't served to our man. Justice wasn't served to our mothers, justice wasn't served to our land. No monetary return will clear the colour of our bloody rivers, comfort the pain of our mourning sisters, cleanse the pollution of the soil which quivers. But it is our duty to recollect, lest we forget. May the compassion which carried Bhagat Singh from Lahore to the site of Jallianwala Bagh course through our veins. May the strength to support political truth fill our hearts and brains. May the sacrifices of our ancestors be honoured again and again. May the responsibility we have to light up and pave our way to more truth, more unity, more peace. Shaheed Bhagat Singh's last words were a summons for justice. Inqilab Zindabad.
Namaste, welcome to Vichar Manthan. My name is Sachin Nandha and I am the National Coordinator for Vichar Manthan activity. What is Vichar Manthan? This is the first Vichar Manthan in this region, in London West, and it gives me so much pleasure that we are starting off this particular chapter with this particular topic. Vichar Manthan is a voluntary, non-partisan platform for earnest discussion, exploration, debate, and study. Vichar Manthan aims to have 7 centres around the UK. We have 2 permanent chapters so far, in the Midlands and in London. We plan to have 4 chapters in Greater London, this being the first in London West. And each of the centres is ran by a group of volunteers. And the idea behind Vichar Manthan is to discuss earnestly the challenges facing contemporary society, whether that be in Britain or internationally, but we approach that particular challenge through a Hindu lens. And by Hindu, we mean that civilizational perspective, that civilizational movement that we call Hindu. Vichar Manthan has been around for, in this format, for over 4 years. And as I said, we have chapters in the Midlands and in London. This only happens because people support us. So I'm so glad and happy that so many of you have been able to come. Tonight's format, to explore the life and philosophy of Bhagat Singh. The format is that our expert witness will make some opening remarks for a few minutes. Thereafter, there will be quite an in-depth conversation, Q&A, between our chair and our expert witness around exploring the life and philosophy of Bhagat Singh. Our chair for tonight is Sumit Sharma. Sumit ji is part of the Vichar Manthan team here in West London. Sumit ji has a degree in business IT and networking from BCU. He currently works at Rackspace as a cloud solutions consultant, and he is the president of the highly celebrated and now distinguished Toastmasters Club at Rackspace. So, without further ado, we can start the evening, and I'll pass it over to Sumit Sharma.
Thank you all for joining us here today. As discussed, we are going to have an open forum and some opening remarks from our expert witness. I'll then go into some more detailed questions. If you guys have those questions again, please write them down, collect them during the break, and then I will be able to ask those questions later on. If we don't get to answer all of your questions here today, we will have some remarks afterwards. We'll record those and upload those for you to listen to. So to welcome our expert witness today is Mrs. Virendra Arora. She was born in 1940, born and also went to the same school as Bhagat Singh in Lalpur district in Banga village, which is now known as Lahore in Pakistan. She went to Agra University to complete her BA in teaching. She continued there to do her master's in political science. She carried on as a teacher, a senior teacher, and a researcher. And she went on to produce numerous books and was really the scholar from the young age of 24, where she was producing newspapers, articles, and it was in 1968 when she emigrated to the UK and also produced the first book, first reference book and point of authority on Bhagat Singh, which we have here today, which you can see later on. And if that wasn't enough, she is also Bhagat Singh's younger brother's daughter. So we have here today the blood niece of Bhagat Singh, live on stage for you guys to enjoy today. Really, the comprehensive collections of Virendra ji's work, the numerous books she's written, again, which we have here today, we'll be able to look at and is the point of authority. Virendra Ji's father, Gurtar Singh, younger brother of Bhagat Singh, was actually in jail at the time that Virendra Ji was born. So the first time she met him, she had to go to the jail to go visit her father. And we'll find out why he was in jail a little later on today. So the reason we have this here today, the reason we're gathered, is for a slightly intimate exposure. Who better as an expert witness than blood relation of the martyr that we're discussing here today? She was close to the action, she's developed literature, and she is a historian based on the topic that we are discussing. So I want to move over now to Virendra Ji, let her talk a little bit, and some opening remarks about how you did your research and the discovery of your uncle and the family background. So just let us know how that process ensued and how you went about that.
पहले तो मैं आप सबका शुक्रिया अदा करती हूँ। आप सभी यहाँ आज शहीद भगत सिंह, शहीद राजगुरु और शहीद सुखदेव को की याद में पहुँचे हैं। उनको शहादत को पूरे 86 साल बीत चुके हैं। 23 मार्च 1931 को उनको फांसी हुई थी। वह क्रांति का शंखनाद था, अन्याय के अंत का उनका आह्वान था, शोषण मुक्त समाज के निर्माण का संदेश था। बिना किसी प्रतिदान या इनाम की उम्मीद के मातृभूमि की मुक्ति का ये महासंकल्प था। हंसते हंसते मृत्यु को जो गले लगाने चल पड़े, उन शहीदों को नमन, शत शत नमन, शत शत नमन। भारत की स्वतंत्रता युग परिवर्तन का संकेत था, विश्व भर में दास्ता के अंत का प्रारंभ था, मानवता के उद्धार का, दानवता के अंत का, देश में विदेश में जाति रंग भेद के चक्रव्यूह को भेदने, युद्ध मुक्त, रोग मुक्त, सर्वजन शांति में विश्व के विकास का भारतवंशियों को संदेश था। उन शहीदों को नमन, शत शत नमन, शत शत नमन। अब आपने सबसे पहले यही प्रश्न पूछा है, तो मैं यही बताती हूँ कि शुरू से ही, राइट फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग, आई हैव बीन लिसनिंग भगत सिंह's नेम in my family, from my grandmother, grandfather, and everyone. So as far as my memories goes, Bhagat Singh has always been in my memories, with me all the time. And when the partition happened, my father and my uncle Sardar Kulbir Singh and my father Sardar Kultar Singh, they only brought those papers which were related to Shaheed Bhagat Singh and their party, like files of the newspapers and their court proceedings and everything. So we have had quite a lot at home, which my father had kept for years, and he wanted someone to write a book on, an authentic book on that. By the time I have written this book in 1968, there was no other biography of Bhagat Singh at that time. After that, so many other books have been published, but by the time I have written in 1968, there was not any. So from all those papers, and I had a chance to meet several revolutionaries, Bhagat Singh's colleagues, those who were alive, and my grandmother, my uncles, my buaji. So all those people have been related to Bhagat Singh, had lot in their memories. So that's how I started, and that's how I wrote the books. दूसरी किताब है जिसमें भगत सिंह जी के सारे पत्र और उनकी स्टेटमेंट्स वगैरह हैं, और ये जो किताब है ये जितने क्रांतिकारी हुए उनके लाइफ स्केचेस पर भगत सिंह जी की अपनी लिखी हुई है. I have edited this. So that's all.
Virendra ji, let's talk about a young Bhagat Singh? Before we get into the details, how was he as a child? Or if you could tell us a little bit about the day he was born, maybe some of the influences and impressions that he may have had at a young age in the family.
Bhagat Singh was born in village Banga, district Lailpur, now in Pakistan. It was 28th of September 1907, and 9 o'clock in the morning he was born. The very same day his father Sardar Kishan Singh and his younger uncle Sardar Swaran Singh, they both came out of jail. And his other uncle Sardar Ajit Singh, who was exiled with Lala Lajpat Rai in Mandalay in Burma, soon after Bhagat Singh's birth, the news came that Sardar Ajit Singh will soon be back home. So all these things happened, and Bhagat Singh's grandmother, Shrimati Jai Kaur, started saying कि बच्चा बड़ा भागों वाला हुआ है. भागों वाला means भाग्यवान. He is very lucky child. So भागों वाला कहते कहते उनका नाम भगत सिंह हो गया, भगत सिंह नाम पड़ गया. तो इस तरह से, और उनके जो दादा थे सरदार अर्जुन सिंह, he had adopted Arya Samaj. Though we were Jat Sikh from Punjab, but he had adopted Arya Samaj. He was very impressed with Swami Dayanand Saraswati when he went to Punjab. He met Swami Dayanand ji and he became Arya Samaji. So he was a reformist. He used to have Havan and Shlokas in the house every morning. And Bhagat Singh was brought up by his grandmother, grandfather and 2 aunts. 2 चाचियाँ जो थीं, एक तो बाद में 1910 में सरदार स्वर्ण सिंह जो थे, उनकी मृत्यु हो गई थी जेल में ही. He died, and Sardar Ajit Singh, he came out of the country. He went to several different countries. He stayed in Europe for several years and then went to Brazil, and he was in touch with the Ghadar party as well, which was in America. So he came out of the country and both the aunts were there. So he was brought up with by his grandfather, grandmother and both aunts. And he had seen the aunts himself, how they suffered without their husbands. And Bhagat Singh had very much impression in his childhood from his grandfather, because he learnt Sanskrit from his grandfather and Hindi at home, though in those days in the schools Urdu was the language which was used to be taught. So Bhagat Singh learnt all these languages at a very young age, and by the time he had finished his primary school, which means up to class 4th, he had read all the literature which was published by Bharat Mata Society, which was formed by his uncle Sardar Ajit Singh. And because Sardar Ajit Singh had started a Kisan movement in Punjab, and he was very successful. He was a very good orator, and he was very, very successful in that movement. And that is why British government had sent him to Mandalay, and but soon after, about 6 months he was there, and then he was released. But he had to leave the country, because if he had stayed there, either he would have spent all his life in jail or he would have been hanged. British government was so उनसे इतना डरी हुई थी गवर्नमेंट कि उनको वो जिंदा नहीं छोड़ती, तो इसीलिए वो देश छोड़ करके विदेशों में आ गए थे कि विदेश से जा करके भारत की आज़ादी के लिए काम करें.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about Arjun Singh Rai, who was Bhagat Singh's grandfather, and his adoption of Arya Samaj, and he was in the army at some point as well.
No, he was a Unani Hakim.
Yeah.
He was a Vaid, जैसे होते हैं.
Sure.
Unani Hakim भी एक like a doctor.
Okay.
He was that,
Like
and a farmer.
And a farmer too.
Yeah.
Many talents. So at that time, typically they would go to Khalsa school, but Arjun Singh Ji, he actually went to DAV college.
Yes.
What does that say about him as a person and what he was aspiring to educate?
Well, Bhagat Singh went to DAV school in Lahore. His father used to live in Lahore. He was an insurance broker, and as well as we have had some agricultural land near Lahore. So his father used to live in Lahore, father and mother both. So after finishing his primary school, Bhagat Singh came to Lahore and he was sent to DAV school. In the Khalsa schools, there used to be a prayer in the praise of king or queen, whosoever. So that's why my grandfather or Bhagat Singh's father sent him to DAV school, not in Khalsa school.
To get a better education as well. So then Arjun Singh Rai, which is Bhagat Singh's grandfather, who had 3 sons. Kishan Singh Ji, who was Bhagat Singh's father. Swaran Singh, who spent a lot of time in Lahore and
in jail, yes.
And he unfortunately died.
And he died in 1910.
1910. And then Ajit Singh Ji, who self-exiled to EU and Brazil. He was working with revolutionaries all the way in Brazil,
yes,
to help for the anti-colonialism.
That's right, yes.
So now let's move a little bit forward now to Bhagat Singh at 11 years old, who's primarily brought up by his grandparents and his aunts, like you said. What were Bhagat Singh's mother and father thinking at this time? What were they thinking about their young Bhagat at the time? Were they worried about how he was so connected to the Mahatma Gandhi movement, or what were their thoughts?
No. As I have said, they themselves, Sardar Kishan Singh himself was a freedom fighter. So in the beginning, he was an activist, and he helped wherever there is famine or flood or too much rain or something. He used to help people. Once he took several children, those who have no parents because of the floods or the famines, and they opened a anathalaya in Lahore. So there were several children. They were keeping them there and looking after them. And as far as Bhagat Singh is concerned, he was quite happy that he has learned quite a lot at a very small age. By the time he was 11, he had read several books, and he had all the knowledge about Ghadar party and all the knowledge about the other revolutionaries, those who have sacrificed their lives. And as soon as Bhagat Singh had a chance to get into some sort of activity like as Asahyog Andolan, he, with his father's permission, he went into that, and he happily agreed to him that he can leave DAV school and go to take part in the Andolan.
So his dad actually gave him permission to bunk off classes.
Of course, that was the time like that.
Let's not tell the people here that. But
the country was everything for that at that time, and only those people can know what the slavery is. People, those who have seen those days, we cannot judge the situation, how people were suffering.
Definitely, and to live in this country today, we're almost privileged to do so.
Bilkul.
An oppressed country back then. Let's move forward 1 year then to Vaisakhi of 13th of April in 1919. Some of you may know that was the Jallianwala Bagh incident, where thousands of people were killed and wounded and injured, and this was a big deal. And Bhagat Singh was in Lahore at the time, so at the age of 12 years old, he travelled from Lahore to Amritsar.
He was 12 years old, yes. Instead of going to school, he went to Jallianwala Bagh. he took bus from Lahore and went there, and took some soil which was all red with the blood, and put it in a bottle, brought it home, and he has been putting flowers around it for so many days. That's what my Buaji told me. That was the spirit at that time.
So it must have touched him quite deeply.
Oh yes, and he felt really sad. That night he wouldn't eat anything. He said, "I'm not hungry. Look, see at this soil, how many people have been killed in Amritsar."
And for someone that's just 12 years old to have such passion for his country, where they were brutally slaughtered, inhumane at quite some degree. So then Bhagat Singh was growing up a little, and between 1920 and 1922 was the non-cooperation movement that Mahatma Gandhi launched at the time.
Yes.
And through our discussions, you've said that Bhagat Singh was disillusioned by Mahatma Gandhi in 1921.
Yes,
Why?
because he had withdrawn the movement. So Bhagat Singh was very disillusioned, and he started thinking, are we fighting for violence and non-violence or something else? Our aim is freedom for the country, not violence and non-violence. Whatever way we can get the freedom is the most important thing. So from then on, he started thinking on those lines, and then he left school at when he was in 9th class, and then he joined National College Lahore, which was for all the patriots and nationalist people, opened by Lala Lajpat Rai. He joined that college in first year. He didn't have to do 9th or 10th class. Straight away he was taken in first year, and he completed his intermediate, which is equivalent to A levels, in National College Lahore in 1923.